It's day 4 of the Leadership Reset Challenge. Our topic today is be a good coach. Gallup says that the number one thing that senior leaders should do to increase employee engagement is to transition their bosses to coaches. And they define coaching pretty broadly. So the first thing you got to have is foundation of caring and trust. And then you have to be able to give feedback in a motivational way. So that is positive feedback as well as developmental or constructive feedback. You need to be able to listen well. You need to be able to coach others towards solutions rather than fixing or giving advice all the time. And then finally, to help others grow. For our purposes today, we're going to focus on giving constructive feedback, which is something that most people either don't do at all or they don't tend to do very well. So I'm going to share a 4-step model for doing this, which I think will be helpful to you. So it is the BEAN model. The B is describe the behavior. And in doing that, you want to use I statements like I observed, I overheard, I noticed, because that puts some of the onus on you and makes it less threatening to the other person. And you're going to be specific in describing the behavior. You want to focus on the behavior, not the person. So let's say, for example, that you feel like one of your employees is lazy. Well, the things that make you feel that way is they're tardy a lot and they go missing in action on their shift. So when you're having the conversation with them, you're not going to say, I think you're lazy. You're going to share those specific behaviors. So the E is sharing the effect or the potential effect of the behavior. The A is ask and listen. And I really like this model because it incorporates that, because most times with feedback, you have your perspective, you have the other person's perspective, and the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. So this gives them a chance to share and gives you an opportunity to learn where they're coming from. And then the N is determining next steps. And we'll go through an example. Nellie, negative Nellie, is an employee in your department. And in the department meeting, you overheard her saying to another employee, I don't know why they're asking for our feedback on this. Management's going to do what they want to do anyway. So you didn't really like that, and you feel like you need to give her some feedback. The first thing you want to do is make sure you're in a mindset where you can do that well. So if you're angry or emotional, you may want to step back, but you do want to do it as timely as possible. So I'm going to pull Nellie aside and do it in private, because you should do that when it's constructive feedback, and describe the behavior. Nellie, I overheard in the meeting that you made a comment that you didn't know why we were asking for your feedback, because we're going to do what we want to do anyway. So that's describing the behavior. We're going to share the effect. I felt like it took the meeting in a negative direction and made others less willing to share. The A is you're going to ask a question, or it could be as simple as, what are your thoughts on this? But in this case, I'm going to say, what made you decide to share that in a public forum? What makes you feel that way? And the N, next steps. So we're going to have a dialogue and determine how we're going to move forward. Now, I have a book, which I mentioned early on, so it goes into much more detail and talks about how you can deal with deflection, which might happen sometimes with constructive feedback. But if you prepare in advance and use the model, I think you've got better odds of the conversation going in a positive direction. So your takeaways for today are to use the Bean model in having constructive feedback discussions over the next few weeks. I'll see you back tomorrow for